the product design folk and said, take something old and familiar, like, say, the shopping cart, and completely redesign it for us in just 5 days. ABC News correspondent Jack Smith tells us what happened next.
9 in the morning, day one, and these people have a deadline to meet.
So welcome to the kickoff of the shopping cart project.
This is Palo Alto, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley.
I did forget to warn you
at IDEO,
that is
probably the
a
most
solid
influential product
mustache.
development firm in the world. IDEO has designed everything from high-tech medical equipment to the 25-foot mechanical whale in the movie Free Willy and the first computer mouse for Apple. Smith ski goggles, Nike sunglasses, NEC computer screens. Hundreds of products we take for granted.
The point is that we're not actually experts at any given area. You know, we're kind of experts on the process of how you design stuff. So we don't care if you give us a toothbrush, a toothpaste tube, a tractor, a space shuttle, you know, a chair. It's all the same to us. We want to figure out how to innovate by using our process, applying it.
Project leader is Peter Skillman, a 35-year-old Stanford engineer. Project leader because he's good with groups, not because of seniority. He's only been at IDEO for 6 years. The rest of the team is eclectic, but that's typical here. Whitney Mortimer, Harvard MBA. Peter Coughlin, linguist. Tom Kelly, Dave's brother, marketing expert. Jane Fulton-Suri, psychologist. Alex Kazaks, 26, a biology major, who's turned down medical school 3 times because he's having too much fun at IDEO. Safety emerges early as an important issue.
22,000 child injuries a year, and so they're hospitalized injuries. I mean, there are many others.
And theft. It turns out a lot of carts are stolen. As the team works, it becomes clear there are no titles here, no permanent assignments.
And the other side says, gives us a lot of help, says, be safe. I'll give you a big red ball on a post, and that says you're a big guy. If you got a ball, you're a senior vice president. You know, what do I care? The desk, the red ball, it's all the same. In a very innovative culture, you can't have a kind of hierarchy of here's the boss and the next person down, the next person down, the next person down, because it's impossible that the boss is the one who's had the insightful experience with shopping carts. It's just not possible.
The team splits into groups to find out firsthand what the people who use, make, and repair shopping carts really think.
Okay, go.
The problem with the plastic cart is the wind catches it. Yeah. And these things have been clocked at 35 across the parking lot.
Oh, man, that's actually a pretty good point.
The trick is to find these real experts, and so that you can learn much more quickly than you could by just kind of doing it the normal way and trying to learn about it yourself.
From everything I read, these things aren't that safe either, you know? So probably the seat itself is going to have to be redesigned.
One of the interesting things for me is looking at how people really don't like to let go of the cart, except for the professional shopper, whose strategy is to leave the cart at various places.
3:30 in the afternoon, and the group is back at IDEO. There is no let-up.
Each team is going to demonstrate and communicate and share everything that they've learned today.
A shopping cart has been clocked at 35 miles an hour, traveling through a parking lot in the wind.
We were in the store, what, 2 hours, and it was truly frightening just to see the kind of stuff going on.
You ought to designate some people to make damn sure that the store owner's point of view is represented.
After 9 straight hours, the team is tired. They call it a day.
So,
everybody cool?
Well, that's great. Thanks a lot. We had a great time today.
IDEO's mantra for innovation is written everywhere. One conversation at a time. Stay focused. Encourage wild ideas. Defer judgment. Build on the ideas of others.
That's the hardest thing for people to do, is to restrain themselves from criticizing an idea. So if anybody starts to nail an idea, they get the bell, you know.
The ideas pour out and are posted on the walls.
Oh, the blind, the privacy blind. Like when you're buying 6 cases of condoms, no one sees. If it doesn't nest, we don't have a solution.
Organized chaos. It's not organized. What it is it's focused chaos.
Vote with your Post-it, not with an idea that's cool, but with an idea that's cool and buildable. If it's too far out there and it can't be built in a day, then I don't think we should vote on it. Enlightened trial and error succeeds over the planning of lone genius.
Enlightened trial and error succeeds over the planning of the lone genius. If anything sums up IDEO's approach, that is it. Worried that the team is drifting, what can only be called a group of self-appointed adults under Dave Kelly holds an informal side session.
4 or 5 teams. 4 or 5 teams, and we give each team a need area. It becomes very autocratic for a very short period of time in defining what things people are going to work on.
If you don't work under time constraints, you could never get anything done because it's a messy process and go on forever.
Back at the shop, it is 6 o'clock, and the 4 mock-ups are ready for showing.
Baskets also can be, if you think you will have more volume, baskets can be put in.
A modular shopping cart you pile hand baskets onto. A high-tech cart that gets you through the traffic jam at checkout.
That you could mount a scanner on the shopping cart so that you as the customer, as you pull it off the shelf, would scan each item.
One that's built around child safety, and another that lets shoppers talk to the supermarket staff remotely.
Yeah, where can I find a yogurt?
But the adults, again, decide more work needs to be done before the mock-ups can be combined into one last prototype.
Why don't we have all the carts come up here for a second?
I think you take a piece of each one of these ideas and kind of back it off a little bit and then put it in the, design.
The design is still not there. But there's another motto at IDEO: fail often in order to succeed sooner. And some of the team will be up half the night trying to put together a design that finally does work.
There it is! There it is!
Okay, let's talk about that. What did you see there? Let me think about some of the things that I saw. Okay, so their backgrounds. There's a psychologist. There was Dave's brother. There was a marketing MBA, a guy who liked biology, etc. So they had actually a pretty diverse team. Now, how did they come up with ideas? Okay, what I liked about what they said is there's not one person that is the expert in everything, right? So they had to find people who are experts in a specific area. And these were the people that they would use to, or that they would get their information from to design the process. And whenever somebody would be negative, they'd have that bell and they would ding that bell. Okay, so we're going to be putting you in teams. You'll have the team list to be posted within the next probably day or two of the 3 people, 2 or 3 people you'd be working with to do your team project. Okay, and what you do is just meet with them, and then we'll go over some questions specific to how to communicate well. So what I believe is that usually the problem with teams is communication. And I know you're thinking, oh, we have to do another teams class and get in teams, and that's kind of how life works. And that's, I think, the only way that I've been able to have any success in life is when I've been able to find people who do whatever that task is way better than I do, or better than the next person, right? But it all starts with clear communication. So when you get into your teams, when you learn this, I would like you guys to go through these questions. I mean, it's up to you, it's optional, but I think this is a good idea for designing a good team working environment. Okay, so let's go through these questions. So when you get into your team, this is how I would organize it. You assign the 1, 2, 3, 4, or A, B, C, D, or E, or whatever, right? And then you would ask a question and give, 5 minutes, or have all these questions in advance and bring them to the meeting. But you'd give each person, 3 minutes to speak about this first question. So this question right here, let's just give you an example of how this works. When you're a team member, what things are most important to you, and how do you like to be treated as a member of that team? And so you will have thought about this in advance, and you bring your idea to each other, and then A would go first and give his idea or her idea, B second, C third, D fourth. At the next question, you'd have B go first, then C, then D, then E. The next question, C, D, E, A, B, etc. Okay, so this is the first question. go ahead and discuss that with your group, right? There's the next question. Okay. And the next question. Next question. Next question. Okay, and this is what I propose. Okay, so after you've discussed all those things, that you come up with called a team chart, that you have rules and regulations for how the team works, right? And in the real world, this is a great way of holding people responsible. How are you going to hold people responsible for groups, especially when nobody's the boss, for example? Okay, so again, it all starts with communications. And since we do have a lot of entrepreneurs in this class, I would suggest that if you do start a business, that you have something like this, and even more so that it's formal. So my brother wanted to start a business with me. Basically, he just wanted me to fund a business. So I said, sure. We talked about this business later, or earlier in the course, but I said, sure, I'll help you out a little bit. But I made him sign a contract. These were his responsibilities. These were my responsibilities. This is how much he get paid. This is how much I get paid, right? And we could have had an attorney look at it, but I've done this quite a bit, so I didn't have to. But I formalize those relationships because I think that if you can't hold people responsible, if you can't communicate well, then what happens is you get these miscommunications and things fall apart. And then it's people's fault. But it's rarely, in my opinion, in my experience as well, it's really not the people. It's more of the process. The process of the environment, and the process and the environment that process creates. So, for example, that if you have a boss who expects all these things out of you but never communicates them clearly, then that would be passed down to you, and you may end up treating other people that way as well, right? But so we're hoping in this course that you put together a team charter, and through this team charter, that you can hold each other responsible, and that in most of the cases when teams do create this in my class, their projects seem to end up a lot better than those that don't. But it's up to you. If that's something you want to try, great. If you want to try it in your personal life, great. If you want to write a contract with your teams currently or a business you started and need some help, then let me know. Okay? All right, now let's talk about meetings lastly. So it seems like a lot of people think that meetings are productive and that you get the stuff done in the meeting. I would say that's a big question mark. And the reason why I ask that, or the reason why I say that, is because just to meet doesn't make sense. If you're bonding, I get it, and I think that's an important part of it, but make it that an obvious reason for the meeting. So, for example, when I worked at a company in Lehigh, we would have a, quote, meeting every other day, my boss and I, to play ping pong. And then we'd just play ping pong. That was it, right? And we bonded. That was great. But sometimes we have impromptu meetings that were, or meetings that were every Tuesday that after a while I just didn't understand what made sense. And sadly, instead of paying attention to the meetings, this was when I had a BlackBerry. That was pretty hip back then. It was a mid-2000s. And I figured I would read honestly, there's 2-hour meetings, and my portion was like 10 minutes maybe, but I would read on how to train my dog. And I read all these things, and yes, my dog knows every trick that I can think of, and I ran out of tricks. But now she's getting old, and she's kind of dumb, but don't tell her I said that, or my wife for that matter. Anyway, so question the necessity of every meeting you call. If you do need to meet face-to-face, there are times when you do need to meet face-to-face. Okay, something's like being communicated correctly, or you're not getting something's not moving, or there seems to be expectations that are misinterpreted, maybe there's a reason to meet face to face, or to build rapport. But if you're building rapport, then make sure that they know that is the purpose of the meeting. Okay, so I like this practice. So if you guys are going to have a team activity where you do some M&Ms things, right? And I don't know, I mean, now that COVID's out here, so maybe people don't want M&Ms. Who knows? Anyway, because maybe M&Ms caused COVID. You never know. Maybe bats were eating them, and that's what people got the virus from. So maybe don't do M&Ms. Maybe do Skittles. Skittles are better anyway. Anyway, so write an agenda for this meeting that you're going to have coming up, or for your team charter. Practice writing agendas. Make sure that you stick to the agendas. And I'm working currently with a bunch of professors, and it just seems like with that, I'm the one writing the agenda every time, and I'm the one that doesn't. I shouldn't be, right? It's their project, and it gets so far off tangent every time we spend an hour there, when we could probably get everything done in about 15, 20 minutes. So go ahead and try to write an agenda for your next team meeting, especially for this class. Go over the things you need to go over, and then if there are things at the end that you need to talk about, great. Things you want to shoot the bull about, then that's fine too. But make that part of the meeting. Make that part of or the purpose of the meeting, instead of just calling a meeting and then having it end up being unproductive. Okay. All right, and so now I was going to introduce a bunch of collaboration tools to you, but you probably already know them. I usually use Google Docs as probably one of the main collaborators, and then something like Box or Dropbox, and then obviously Zoom now to collaborate with each other. Okay, so again, to recap, management say managing teams is a difficult task because you're dealing with diverse personalities and diverse places and diverse projects, and people don't get along, and more maybe they do, or you haven't written a good process. But what's key to that is about communication. And I guess a life lesson that I've learned from this is also being vulnerable, right? That you're going to make mistakes and you fess up to them. Others are going to be making mistakes and you need to forgive them. And some people aren't going to work hard, and that's a mistake, right? And you like to work harder, but you never know what you're going to get when you start working in teams. So the best way to make teams effective is to have things, like I said, a team charter, and that you discuss things in advance and have rapport one with another. Okay? So hopefully this is helpful. And sorry for that. And like we talked about last time, was revised. That was normally a peer editing exercise we do now, but again, I would advise you to send your business articles to your team members or other people in class you may know, so that they take a look at it. Okay, we will see you guys at the live class next Thursday.